All right, let's just jump right in with a question that's going to sound a little out there. Can a plant pay attention? I mean, really pay attention. To get to the bottom of that, we have to meet one of the weirdest, most fascinating plants you've ever heard of.
I mean, really, think about it. When you look at a plant, what do you see? Something green, something that just sits there, right? Soaking up the sun. But what if I told you there's a plant out there that's a hunter? A plant that's actively searching for its next meal. And here's the kicker. If it doesn't find it, it dies.
So, let's meet the hero of our story. This thing, it's got no roots, it has no leaves. Imagine just waking up one day with no way to get food and a clock is literally ticking down. Well, that is the everyday reality for this plant. Okay, let's get into the details. The plant's official name is Cuscuta ramosa. We just call it daughter. Some people even call it the vampire plant, which is pretty fitting actually. See, it's what's known as a hollow parasite. That's a fancy way of saying it's a total parasite. It gets 100% of its food from latching on to other plants, which, brings up a pretty big question. How in the world does it find them? So to figure that out, scientists came up with this really clever setup. You can see it here. They put little twigs of the daughter plant on a shelf and then placed potential host plants down below. The key thing is, they're separated. There's no physical contact. The only way the daughter could possibly know the other plant is there is if it can sense it, from a distance. And this is so crucial. You have to understand this plant is on a deadline. It has no roots, basically no leaves. That means it's running on a very, very limited battery pack. It has to forage. It has to make smart choices about where to grow, or it's game over. And how it does that has been a huge mystery for a long time. All right, so step one for the researchers was to look at the daughter's most basic survival strategy. What does it do when it thinks food is nearby versus what does it do when it senses, absolutely nothing?
And they started with this really cool idea. Even though daughter is a parasite, it can still make a tiny amount of chlorophyll, the green stuff plants use to make food from sunlight. So the question was, if it gets desperate, if there's no host around, does it try to fire up its own little food factory as a last-ditch effort to stay alive?
So that's what the experiment was all about. They compared two situations. Scenario 1, a lonely daughter all by itself in a box. Scenario 2, a daughter in a box, but with a tasty host plant nearby, just out of reach. And the big question is, does just knowing that host is there change its internal chemistry? And wow, the results were wild. Just look at this table. See that first column, the one labeled no host? That's our lonely daughter. Look at those numbers for the pigments. Chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B, beta-carotene. They're way higher than for the other plants. It's like it's saying, okay, no food around, time to go green. It's firing up its own photosynthesis engines as a last resort. Incredible. So there it is, our first huge clue. This is not just some passive plant. It's actively changing its body chemistry based on what it senses in its environment. When it's alone, it tries to make its own food. Just that by itself is an amazing survival strategy. But okay, that's just what we can see on the surface, right? The color change. The really cool part of this study goes way deeper. We're talking about a hidden world of communication inside the plant. And to see it, we have to look at something called the electron. Yeah, electro sounds super technical, but it's actually a simple idea. It's just all the electrical signals zipping around inside a living thing. The best way to think about it is like a plant's EKG or EEG. It's a way for us to eavesdrop on its internal state in real time.
And this right here is the central question of the whole study. Does that electrical chatter, does it change when the daughter goes on the hunt? Is there like an electrical signature for, I found something to eat?
Okay, this is where it gets really cool. The scientists basically bugged the plant. They attached these tiny electrodes to the daughter to listen in on its internal conversation, trying to catch that exact moment it realizes, aha, food is nearby. And this is it. This is the smoking gun. Check out these charts. They show the plant's electrical signals. On the left, you see the baseline signal. It's a mess, right? It's just chaotic noise. But then look at the right. That's after a bean plant was put nearby. All that chaos just vanishes. It settles into this clean, organized, regular wave. The plant's entire internal world just snapped into a new pattern. So, this is huge. Something fundamental changed inside that plant. It's not just a little blip. Its entire electrical system has shifted into a new organized state. But okay, that leads to the next question, right? Is this just a general plant nearby signal? Or can it actually tell the difference between, say, a 5-star meal and something it can't even eat? To figure that out, they took all of this super complex electrical data and fed it to an AI. They asked the machine, can you learn to tell the difference? And the answer was a resounding yes. Get this. The AI could tell if a bean plant was nearby just by looking at the electrical signals with 90% accuracy. That's insane.
And this is basically what the AI was seeing. It's a visual map of the plant's electrical state. Each one of those dots is like a snapshot in time. See the red dots? That's the plant before it sensed the beam. And the blue dots? That's after. They're not even close. They're in two completely distinct clusters. The plant is in a fundamentally, measurably different state of being.
But wait, it gets even better. The AI wasn't just doing a simple yes, no, is something there or not. It could actually tell the difference between different hosts. Look at that last bar on the chart. The AI could tell the difference between the signal for a bean plant, which is a great meal for the daughter, and the signal for a wheat plant, which it can't eat. That means the daughter is creating unique electrical fingerprints for different targets. It's discriminating.
So all of this leads to a pretty mind-blowing conclusion. Let's just step back for a second. What do we call it in any organism when its internal state shifts from being chaotic and noisy to being focused and organized, all because of one specific thing in its environment?
Remember, the key here isn't just that the signal changed, it's how it changed. It went from high complexity, think of it like a room full of people all talking at once, to low complexity, a simple, regular pattern. It's like everyone in the room suddenly started humming the exact same note. That is a clear signature of focus.
And if you look at the definition of attention from neuroscience, that's pretty much what it is. It's when a living thing invests a whole bunch of its energy into processing one single thing. It's about filtering out all the noise to lock onto what's important.
And that is exactly what this little plant seems to be doing. This shift, this measurable change from a noisy, complex electrical state to a simple, regular one that's locked onto a host, well, the researchers argue that this is the first real empirical evidence for a process that looks an awful lot like attention in a plant. Which just leaves us with this one huge final question, doesn't it? We've always drawn this really clear, hard line between animals and plants. But if a plant can focus its entire internal state, if a plant can literally pay attention, what else can they do? What other lines that we've drawn are about to get very, very blurry.